Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in the listen-only mode. After the presentation, we will conduct a question-answer session. At that time, if you'd like to ask a question, dial *1 on your touch-tone phone. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to introduce your host, Ms. Jennifer Smits. You may begin.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Smits of the Census Bureau's Public Information Office. I'd like to welcome everyone listening in on the phones and following the webinar on their computer to the 6th installment in the Foreign Trade webinar series, The Fundamentals of Exporting. Today's topic is Your Free Tools of the Trade, AESDirect and AESPcLink. Census Bureau statistics are how America knows what America needs. As we continue to measure the nation's people, places, and economy, we are very excited to familiarize you with AESDirect and AESPcLink. Our presenter today is Rosanna Torres from AES Marketing and Client Services in the Foreign Trade Division at the U.S. Census Bureau. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you and the public, and you can keep the conversation going after the webinar on Twitter by using #ForeignTrade. This webinar is the 6th in an eight-part series. These webinars will be taking place every other Wednesday at 1 p.m. Each webinar is completely free and a great way to understand what the Foreign Trade Division does and the resources we offer. The next webinar, Getting It Right the First Time, How to Avoid Common Penalties, will be on Wednesday, October 3rd. Just a quick housekeeping note before we begin. Once our speaker has completed her presentation, we'll open up the webinar for Q&A from the media and then follow up with questions from the general public. Without further delay, I'll turn it over to Rosanna.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Rosanna Torres, and I work in the Foreign Trade Division. The Foreign Trade Division is the official source for U.S. export and import statistics and is responsible for issuing regulations governing the reporting of all export shipments from the United States. I've been working with AESDirect and AESPcLink for over 4 years now. Hopefully today I will cover enough information to help you feel comfortable with our free filing tools to submit information to AES. So far, throughout this webinar series, you've learned about the automated export system, the regulatory requirements, how to classify your goods, and even why it's so important for you to provide the right data. Today, let's get right into the nitty-gritty and learn how to transmit your export information to the AES using AESDirect and AESPcLink. We will learn what is the difference between AESDirect and AESPcLink, how to register for an account, and how to manage it. We will also learn how to create and transmit shipments through the website. There are many very useful tools that AESDirect includes, and we will go over how to get the most out of those tools today, including how to manage users and your shipments. So let's get started. Like Nadal mentioned in the September 5th webinar, the ABCs of AES, there are different ways to transmit data to the automated export system. These are also known as filing methods. The U.S. Census Bureau provides 2 free filing methods, AESDirect and AESPcLink. Let's take a look at their differences. AESDirect is an interactive filing method that allows you to log in online at aesdirect.gov and transmit your shipments directly to the automated export system. AESDirect checks for any errors, and if they are found, they respond with a list of errors. The errors will direct you to what needs to get corrected and ask you to change the input. Once all errors are correct, an internal transaction number for that shipment will be sent to your email. AESPcLink is a downloadable software component of AESDirect. This software is also free and can be downloaded directly from the AESDirect website. Among the differences between AESDirect and AESPcLink are the amount of templates available. Through the website, you can have up to 100 templates shared throughout the company account. Now, since AESPcLink stores files directly to your PC, you are able to store as many as your computer will hold. Another difference is that AESPcLink provides a Spanish interface. Though you still have to enter the information in English, this is a nice feature to have. Lastly, all AES code tables must be updated manually. We will learn more about these tables later on. During today's presentation, we will focus more on AESDirect feature, but we will also go over on how to download AESPcLink on your computer. To register for an AESDirect account, you first need to have an identification number. It's important to know that a Social Security number is not valid as an identification. Even if you are not a registered company, you will need to obtain an employer identification number, also known as an EIN, to register for AESDirect. If you are filing on behalf of someone else, you can also use a Duns & Bradstreet number as an identification number. You can obtain an EIN through the IRS's website. After this webinar concludes, you will be able to download the presentation and go directly to the link of the IRS website on your screen. To register, these are the steps you would need to follow. 1, you will need to complete the online registration form and submit. 2, you're going to receive an email asking you to confirm the registration and prompting you to create a username and password. Then, to gain full access to the website, you will need to pass the certification quiz. Use the resources provided on the website to go through it. I'll go over these resources in the next slide. Then, finally, once you pass the certification quiz, you will have full access to the website and begin filing. Let's take a look at the AESDirect website. Here's a look at our homepage. Here you can find the registration link, help on how to register, and resources to help get you started. For example, you can find here the user guides that I mentioned before. These user guides provide step-by-step screenshots that answer all of your questions. You will need to review this in order to take the certification quiz. You will also find sample shipments. These are quick cheat sheets that you can refer to when filling each field. You can also locate here the Support Center. This has all of our contact information and as well as all the code tables that are used throughout the application to categorize different data elements. AESDirect has 3 different types of accounts. When registering, you will need to designate an account administrator. The account administrator is the only designated person that can make changes to an AESDirect account. The company administrator creates individual account usernames for different filers throughout the company. 2 of these accounts can be designated as user managers to help manage the user accounts created for the company. These are known as user managers. A user manager can create new AESDirect accounts and manage company access. If necessary, they can also reset passwords for users in the company. Only 2 user managers are allowed for each company, but they cannot act legally on behalf of the account. Then we also have individual users. These only have the power to file the electronic export information, and they are responsible for the day-to-day filing of shipments. Some user accounts can even be limited to only viewing historical filing data. It is important to note that all users, including user managers and account administrators, may reset forgotten or expired passwords by clicking the Forgot Your Password link on the login screen. Any locked out or disabled accounts must contact account administrators. Let's take a look at the account administrator screen. This page can be found under the Manage Users link. Through this page, you are able to update company name, address, contact email for any account. However, you will not be able to update any company account information such as the filer ID or ID type. For that type of request, the account administrator must contact technical support. For those of you who choose to use AESPcLink, you must realize that the account and maintenance must be done online through AESDirect. So what happens if you forget your password? With all the online applications we use nowadays, it's very easy to forget passwords. This is why it's very important to set up security questions for each account. Once you set these up, the system stores them under your account. Therefore, if you ever forget your password, you can just enter the answers to the questions that you had provided before, and just like that, you've reset your password. If you don't have your security questions set up, you will have to haggle your account administrator or user managers to reset the password for you. When creating your shipment, you will need to identify different parties participating in each transaction. you will notice the USPPI and the ultimate consignee will always be required. Other parties are conditional based on the shipment. Let's review who each party refers to. The USPPI is the person or entity in the United States that receives the primary benefit, monetary or otherwise, from the export transaction. The ultimate consignee is the person, party, or designee that is located abroad and actually receives the export shipment. Let's take a look at the conditional field. The intermediate consignee is the person or entity in the foreign country that acts as an agent for the principal party in interest with the purpose of effecting delivery of items to the ultimate consignee. The freight forwarder, or authorized agent, is the person in the United States who is authorized by the principal party in interest to facilitate the movement of cargo from the United States to the foreign destination and or prepare the electronic documentation. Let's take a look at the sections. Highlighted are the 4 sections that most shipments require. Let's go over each one. In the shipment information section, it will contain general transportation information and carrier details. This is required for all shipments. In the USPPI section, you will notice this contains information that identify the United States principal party in interest, or the USPPI. The ultimate consignee section contains information of who receives the shipment overseas. This is also required for all shipments. Commodity line section contains information of what merchandise is being exported. At least one line item is required for each electronic export information that is transmitted to AES. This is also required for all shipments. There are 3 other sections, the intermediate consignee, the freight forwarder, and the equipment details, which are conditional based on the shipments that you are filing. When creating a shipment, you will notice that fields are color-coded based on their conditions. Red fields are required for each shipment. Blue fields are conditional based on the information entered, and other fields in black are considered optional. If you are unsure as to which conditional field is required, or not sure for which shipment it is, use the help link on each page or use the resources available from the main menu. Once you have finished creating the shipment, you are ready to transmit. On the View EEI icon on the left side of the screen, that will take you to the Shipment Viewer screen. Here, you will notice that every section will be color-coded. Make sure that all the section bars appear in green. If they appear in yellow, then that section is missing some required information. If the bar appears in red, the section has not been started yet and needs to be completed. Once all the sections are green, click Submit EEI. On your screen, you can see an example of the pop-up message that appears on your screen once you decide to transmit a shipment. You will be asked to verify the USPPI address and receive a confirmation pop-up indicating that your shipment has been sent to Customs for processing. In AESDirect, clicking Submit will transmit the information directly to the automated export system. If you plan to use AESPcLink, you will save your shipment in a queue. Once you are ready, you can send the shipments to AES. Through AESPcLink, this allows you to send more than one shipment at once to AES. Let's take a look at all the tools available in AESDirect. AESDirect has features that help you keep better track of your shipments and account information. For example, once you log in to AESDirect, the left margin of your screen shows a quick summary of your account profile. We will take a closer look in the next slide. AESDirect allows you also to save profiles and templates. Saving information of certain companies you do business with is very smart. It saves you a lot of extra work and time. Let's also take a look at those tools later. The Shipment Manager is the neatest tool AESDirect offers. It is a central source to find your shipments and manage them directly. Like I mentioned, the account summary is located on the left side of the main menu. This provides detail regarding your company account as it was registered in AESDirect, including a password expiration counter, the company's name, the filer ID it was set up under, the account administrator, and the user managers for your company. let's take a look at profiles. Creating profiles saves time by storing in information pertaining to frequent USPPIs, freight forwarders, and ultimate consignees. The information can be stored under each account and be loaded directly for different EEIs. You can save profiles with the name, ID number, and addresses for all the parties in the transaction. Best of all, you can share profiles between usernames under the same company account in AESDirect. Let's take a look at the Template Manager. Templates save a skeleton of your shipment. This saves time for frequent shipments from the same USPPI to the same ultimate consignee. The only fields that are erased from each template are those fields that vary for each shipment. For example, the shipment reference number, the transportation reference number, the origin state and departure date, and the quantities, values, and weight associated with each shipment. To access the Template Manager, click Manage Templates from the main menu. You're going to also be able to sort templates by clicking on the triangle beside the desired sort field according to name, description, USPPI name and ID, date created, and date updated. You can search for templates by different criteria, including the name, description, USPPI ID, and consignee name. You can share up to 100 templates between the usernames. Like I said in the beginning of this presentation, the Shipment Manager is a tool that helps you search and manage up to 5 years worth of shipments that you have filed through with your account. To look for a shipment, simply select what you wish to search by from the Search for Shipments by drop-down menu. You can search for a shipment with just the ITN or a shipment reference number. If you prefer to search by specific criteria, you must select a time frame to search by. You can either search by the date of export or by the date the shipment was filed. Once you start a search, the output will give you a list of shipments that match the search criteria entered. You can preview details of the shipments right from there before pulling up the shipment entirely, or you can even filter your search. After you find your shipments, they are easier to manage. A convenient drop-down menu on the left hand of each shipment that says I want to will allow you to retrieve, delete, print, or even save shipments as templates. The Shipment Manager will also allow you to export your search results into a spreadsheet. All the criteria that is displayed on your screen will be exported then into a spreadsheet. You are also going to be able to filter shipments based on the current status, whether that be accepted, canceled, with compliance alerts, or any other messages. For more information and an interactive demonstration on the full scope of the features of this tool, go to the YouTube video listed on your screen. To make a correction to an old shipment, you must retrieve the shipment. You can do that directly through the Shipment Manager or by accessing the Retrieve a Shipment link on the main menu. If you access the Retrieve a Shipment link directly, you can search for the shipment by entering the shipment reference number or the internal transaction number. If you use the Shipment Manager, you can search for the shipment with any of the options of the tool and then use the drop-down menu at the left of each shipment to retrieve. Once you retrieve the shipment, you can make the corrections and resubmit. As a reminder, make sure not to change the shipment reference number. If you do, the system will think it is an entirely new shipment. There are 3 things you want to make sure you take care of before transmitting to AES. 1, turn off your pop-up blockers. When you download this presentation, be sure to check out a blog post that shows you how to turn off pop-up blockers from the different browsers. It is hyperlinked on your screen. 2, don't click on the back button of your browser. AESDirect cannot temporarily save a shipment for later before submitting the data. Closing the browser session or clicking on the back icon before the submission will delete your entries. And 3, keep an active session. All sessions will time out after 15 minutes of inactivity. Though a pop-up will notify you 15 minutes before the timeout, you want to be careful. The information is not automatically saved. Moving from one page to another or using any of the lookup functions will reset the timer and you will lose your data. If you are interested in downloading AESPcLink, these are the instructions on how to download. Like I mentioned, AESPcLink is the desktop version of AESDirect that stands on your personal computer. It is free and downloadable from AESDirect. Therefore, you would use the same login information from your AESDirect account. Go to the hyperlink on your screen and run the executable file. An AESPcLink icon will appear on your desktop. Make sure you are connected to the internet and click on it. You will be prompted to enter in a username and password. Remember, passwords are case sensitive. You will enter your same AESDirect username and password. The following message will appear on your screen. Username has not been activated by AESPcLink. Do you wish to activate now? Go ahead and answer yes. Like I mentioned before, the codes used to identify different fields in AES must be updated manually frequently. During this first install, you must do this. Click on the Update Download the Tables. If you skip this by mistake, click on the Tools and then click on AES Code Tables. This is something that you want to do at least once every month. Now, hopefully today I have covered enough information to help you file shipments using AESDirect and AESPcLink. If you need additional assistance, take a look at these additional training tools. We have 25 export training videos covering useful topics such as the Automated Export System, or AES, and the Foreign Trade Regulations. Our webinars also provide more detailed guidance and demonstrations regarding these topics. On the other hand, we have the Global Reach blog, available through globalreach.blogs.census.gov, also hyperlinked on your screen. This is where we post trade-related articles, including information about upcoming training and best practices. It has been my pleasure to present to you your free tools of the trade today. I encourage you to register for the next webinar to be held October 3rd, 2012, Getting It Right the First Time, How to Avoid Common Penalties. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosanna. Before we begin the question and answer portion, I just want to remind everyone we have a new mobile app available that provides statistics from 16 key economic indicators from the Census Bureau, Bureau of Economic Analysis, and Bureau of Labor Statistics. It is available for both Android and Apple devices. You can visit census.gov/mobile for more information and to download the app. We'll now begin the question and answer portion. Just a reminder that we'll take one question and one follow-up so that everybody has a chance to ask questions. And while we're waiting for people to ready themselves in the queue to ask their questions, I just want to provide more additional contact information. After the webinar, for more information, media can dial our Public Information Office at 301-763-3030. Or if you're the general public, please contact the Foreign Trade Division call center directly by dialing 1-800-549-0595. Operator, do we have any questions?
If you'd like to ask a question over the phone, dial star then 1. Please unmute your phone and record your first and last name and affiliation clearly when prompted. Once again, to ask a question over the phone, dial star then 1. We do have questions prompting. One moment.
And while we're waiting for everybody, I also wanted to mention that you can find the archived webinar on our website today within 24 hours. And I'll go real quickly to the website just so you can see how to get to it. So we'll wait a minute for it to pull up. And from census.gov, you'll see the slider in the left-hand corner of the page. If you click on slider number 6 and then go to Foreign Trade Series, the Fundamentals of Exporting, see more. When you click on that link, you'll see here's all the information for today's webinar, and you can find some additional links and resources down below, as well as the list of previous webinars and the archived versions of each, and these are all down here. And next week we'll post the registration link for the next webinar as well. So just keep that in mind if you're looking for today's presentation, to check this link, and you'll find the archived version within 24 hours.
And our first question comes from Sherry Bates from Leprino Foods. Your line's open.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. What I'd like to ask is I'd like to get some information on routed shipments and whether or not we should be entering the freight forwarder as in the freight forwarder position, and also what our responsibility is compared to theirs if we both become responsible if there's a fine. I'm just kind of looking for additional information on what their responsibility is if the FPPI hires them.
Hi, this is Omari Wooden, Trade Ombudsman. I'm also here with Rosanna on the webinar. One thing I would recommend that you do, we actually did a regulations webinar, so it should be located in the archive section of the webinars. I recommend you take a look at that. It outlines the responsibilities of parties in a routed export transaction. But to briefly answer your question, if the foreign party is selecting the U.S. agent, then that agent is the one that is responsible to file the AES record. So then that agent will be the one that is shown in the freight forwarder field. But if the USPPI is actually filing, then that agent does not have to be listed in the freight forwarder field in the AES record. That freight forwarder field is really a filing agent field. So that would not be responsible. Actually, I just found that the foreign trade regulations webinar was on August 22nd, but it is available in archive version, so make sure you go take a look at that to get more details.
Okay.
And our next question comes from Jorge Luca from Arrow. Your line's open.
Yes, I was wondering, is filing an EEI with only a partial ECCN suffice?
Well, AESDirect does validate the ECCN numbers, so if you don't have the complete and correct ECCN, that won't allow the transmission from going through.
Okay, it's not so much as it would be incorrect, but as it's not like including the sub-ECCN.
Right. I think you're probably talking about the ECCN down to the 7-digit level.
Correct. It's usually the B1s or something of that nature. So we have to remain conservative, one of our businesses has been entering only what we would consider to be the partial and not subclassifying it in the EEI, and we were wondering if that is okay or not.
No, that is absolutely okay because the requirement we received from this point from Bureau of Industry and Security is only to the 5 digits. So you couldn't enter any more. So right now it's only at the 5-digit level.
Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And our next question comes from Michelle Pluta from JAS Forwarding. Your line's open.
Hi, this is Michelle. Just a quick question. The archive videos, are they downloadable? And will there be PowerPoints with them?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The first question was, will the archived webinars, will they be downloadable?
Yes. You can view it, and I think you can download it as well.
Because we want to add it to our learning management system.
Okay. If you have trouble, just give the public information office a call at 301-763-3030.
Okay. And then will you be providing the PowerPoints with them?
The PDF should be there on that the press kit page that we showed you a few minutes ago.
All right. Thank you very much.
And once again, to ask a question over the phone, dial star, then 1. Our next question comes from Maria from FAST. Your line's open.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, when we have to file an AES number, is it the order total has to be $2,500 or is it the line has to be $2,500 or more?
It is based on each Schedule B number.
Okay.
So even though you have more than 2 commodities, if they are classified under the same Schedule B number and they amount to more than $2,500, you do have to file it under that same Schedule B number.
That's what I needed. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
And our next question comes from Leo Virgil No affiliation was recorded. Leo, your line's open.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for taking my question. My question is, when I get the ITN back, I get this information message, original to be lodged with CBP. Is that an important thing to do, or who does that? Because
well, first of all,
I have a problem looking for what the location that CBP is within the city of, let's say, Detroit, Michigan. How do I look up that specific port of exit?
Okay, well, to answer your first question on the response message, if you want to take more details on the informational messages that are provided, I would suggest that you look at Nidal's webinar on the automated export system, and that was done September 5th, and it does have details on each message that can be generated. Usually informational messages don't require follow-up unless the message does indicate that. It's more so to inform you of something regarding your shipment. When you mentioned the port of export for CBP, I'm slightly confused if you were receiving maybe a licensable question on your shipment.
No, it's a 177-info kind of message on the ITN, and it says original to be lodged with CBP.
Okay, and that just means that your license, it's a reminder message to lodge your license at customs before exporting.
Okay.
So it is an informational message.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And once again, to ask a question over the phone, dial star, then 1. Please record your name and affiliation when prompted. Once again, to ask a question, dial star, then 1. We do have another question in queue. One moment. And our next question comes from Jacinia Vasquez from USP Technologies. Your line's open.
Yes, hi. I was calling because we do a lot of exports on a weekly basis, but they're smaller, and they're much smaller than 2,500. However, our freight forwarder is asking for us to provide them with an INT number, which we do currently. Is that I know my understanding is it's less than 2,500. I don't know why they're requesting that. Do you understand my question?
I do understand, and it's not required for you to file that information. However, we do remove it from our export statistics, so if that's just something, a business decision that your freight forwarder requires from you, then that should be fine. We're not taking any of that data from you.
Okay.
But it's really just a business decision between both of you.
Oh, okay. All right. Then if it's less than 2,500, it's not required.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And our next question comes from Shelley S. Blair. Your line's open.
Hi, this is Shelley. My question is actually regarding what is the responsibilities for carriers on filing EEI information with census?
This is Omari Wooden again. What exactly do you mean? As the only two parties that can file in the automated export system are agents or U.S. principal parties in interest. So in that case, the carrier would not actually be filing.
So the carrier has no responsibility to communicate any of the AES information to census.
No. That's what I wanted to clarify on your question. The carrier has responsibilities to communicate information to the USPPI or to the agent that is filing. So let's say if a carrier is exporting out of Chicago, but they change the port to Los Angeles, the carrier needs to communicate that to the forwarder or to the USPPI in the transaction. But the carrier themselves are not the ones actually filing the AES data unless they're acting as an agent in that transaction. That's why I wanted to be clear on your question.
Right. So I guess in our case where we actually charter private aircraft to carry cargo, and we also act as the agent and we file the AES on behalf of the shippers, then I guess that's where our responsibility would end, right?
Well, there are too many dynamics in your scenario for me to just say, yes, your responsibilities end, because all parties in the transaction need to make sure that they communicate with each other. What I would recommend is here on the screen, I recommend you contact our regulations staff to really flesh out your question, because we just in this format right now, it sounds like there are a lot more details to your question. I recommend you call 1-800-549-0595, and then option number 3, and then run your scenario through the regulations staff and let them guide you correctly.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Operator, do we have any more questions?
Operator.
Well, while we're waiting, if there are any more, just to let you all know, we do have 2 more webinars in this series. The next one will be on October 3rd, and it's on getting it right the first time, how to avoid common penalties. You can register it for the webinar with the link at the top of your screen starting Monday, September 24. And again, today's archived webinar will be available within 24 hours and can be found online on our press kit at www.census.gov.
And we do have a couple more questions in queue. Our next question comes from Adele with Triflex. Your line's open.
Hi there. Hi, Omar. This is Derek Hatchery. I have a question in regard to split shipments. What happens is when we ship our product, we put everything in boxes, and we don't have basically a knowledge of what goes in what box. And if the carrier decides to split shipment, we will not know what shipment went on what day. So is there a way to, a business rule that we maybe can adopt to make sure that we file the second AES for the second shipment that was left behind?
Thank you for your question. That is a tricky scenario because what the current requirements as exist today is that if the goods are split over different days, then you will have to report another shipment. But in some cases, if you don't know what is actually split on that second shipment, it makes it a challenge. In cases like that, I would recommend that you talk to the carrier, just try to find out or get an estimate from them as to how many boxes went out. And then I would just use a best guess based on the information you're provided and then report that second shipment. One thing to keep in mind, too, under our proposed regulations that are actually we're waiting concurrence of the other agencies, that's actually something that we're proposing to put in under the split shipment rule is to actually consider it as a time frame. So if it's split within a period of time, you won't have to report that second shipment if it's within a certain period of time. So, but what I would recommend is, again, speak to the carrier, try to get as many details from the carrier as to how many boxes went out, and then from that point, just try to make your best guess as to that second shipment that you didn't have to report.
One more question. The second question is in regard to when we have several shipments going on the same day, on the same convey, to the same consignee, however, the freight forward decides to split them into different house airway bills. Does that make them different shipments, or do they have to file one AES for all the shipments?
No. When physical cargo is now split over multiple house bills, over multiple invoices, to us, that does not define the shipment. I know in the transportation industry, normally if you have a house bill, the house bill represents one AES filing in most cases. But to us, we have to always go back to the one shipment rule, which we actually discussed in our regulations webinar, one USPPI to one consignee on one day on one carrier. It doesn't mention house bill or invoices or anything like that. So in that situation, I would still define that based on the information you're providing as one shipment.
I spoke with the freight forward, and they said it's per house bill. It's not. That's what they say the regulation is called for. But I think That's why I'm asking the question, to get better answer from you and confirmation from you to go back to them and kind of make sure that they are firing correctly.
Right, and again, the regulations define shipment as one USPPI to one consignee on one day on one carrier. That is per the regulations, Section 30.1. So the fact that they're saying, oh, no, it's per house bill, that's probably their business practice, but to the regulations, it's going back to the one rule. And I would recommend, if anything, just contact our regulation staff at the 1-800 number, option number 3. Thank you.
And our next question comes from Sherry Bates with Leprino. Your line's open.
Thank you. My question is regarding using an NVOCC when they do provide the house bills. When we're filing AES, are we supposed to be putting them as the carrier, or are we supposed to be putting the actual carrier, the steamship line that's taking the freight, in the area of AES where that's required? I think it's the shipment information.
Thank you for your question. In that situation, we actually have a newsletter article written on that topic. I'm not exactly sure which date, but you can find that on our website. Actually, it was a recent AES newsletter article. The key is, if you're going to list the NVOCC as the carrier, make sure you also list the NVOCC's booking. Just make sure the two of those are consistent. If you decide to report the carrier, then report the carrier's booking so that the two of those are consistent together. AES will allow you to put in either one, but just make sure they're consistent. So make sure you don't list the NVOCC as the carrier and then list the carrier's booking, because now those won't match up. So just make sure whichever one you select, make sure the booking and that party match in the AES. But again, there's a newsletter article, I believe in the last newsletter article or edition or the one prior to that, which you can find on our website. We actually talk about what codes you can actually use in that situation.
Okay, and then along those same lines, if we are utilizing a freight forwarder or an NVO and there is an error that is made, who is fined? Is it the USPPI or the freight forwarder or NVO in that situation?
Again, it depends on the details of the transaction. I can't say who is, because if it's a valuation mistake, maybe the USPPI may be fined. If it's something with the transportation information, maybe it's the forwarder. So there's no absolute as to which party is penalized. Actually, in our next webinar, we'll actually be talking about penalties, common practices, things that you should do to just try to avoid penalties. So maybe we'll actually discuss that. That'll actually be October 3rd at 1 p.m.
Okay, good. I'll be there. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And our next question comes from Matthew Drum from Sob Support. Your line's open.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. When we're filing we're doing our filings, and we're in the carrier section, and we use DHL quite a bit because we do ship a lot of things to Europe. And DHL is mostly the preferred carrier by our customers. But when I choose DHL as a carrier, about 10 or 15 of them with different sub-names. It's DHL, Danzis, DHL, and all kinds of different variations. But you know what? Every time I click on them, they always come back with an error saying that the carrier isn't a valid carrier. So I was just wondering why you guys would have carriers listed on the website when they're not acceptable. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for your question. That drop-down menu, because DHL has so many different divisions within it and so many different modes of transportation, the codes don't necessarily mean that they're invalid. They are invalid based on the mode of transportation that you're selecting. So when you select a code and you add it to your form, you will see the either 2, 3, or 4-digit code that identifies the carrier. If your code is 2 or 3 digits long, then you know that it is authorized for air shipment. If it's 4 digits long, then it's only valid for every other mode of transportation other than air. So that can give you sort of a hint if you have the right carrier code or not. Usually, though, for major carriers like DHL and UPS, they provide the carrier code directly, and that alleviates that problem. But just for your information, there is that difference between the amount of digits that are in each carrier code.
And our next question comes from Madonna from TJET. Your line's open. Madonna Strawn from TJET. Your line's open.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Each month I receive a compliance report, and it says that we're 100% in compliance. But last month I got several notices from the foreign trade that said that the port of export and the IATA were incorrect. So how do you get those reports so that they're not, because I got them for like 2 and 3 months ago, and this was the first time I had seen it. So who is responsible for sending us notices when something is incorrect with what you're doing?
Okay, so there's 2 different mechanisms of monitoring there in place. We at the Foreign Trade Division try to ensure that you are compliant with your filings through the compliance and fatal error reports. Now, those reports indicate that you have been timely in filing and that the shipments have been accepted through AES. However, we don't monitor through that system if the shipment that you have transmitted has all the correct information. That's really where it gets to customs, and they cross-reference what you have entered electronically to what is physically at the port of export. So if you have received any letter indicating that there's an incorrect port of export entered, then that letter is coming from Customs and Border Protection, not our office here.
So how long does it take them before they contact you that there's an error?
Well, that really is up to their processes. We're not really in that scenario with them.
And our next question comes from Ivelez James from Schnecker. Your line's open.
Hi. I just wanted to make sure that we clarified something. Although the value is under $2,500, if the cargo is licensable or going to a country that's on that special list, no matter what the value is, we do have to report it, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Anything that is valued at
$2,500 and nothing else was mentioned, and I got a little nervous.
Okay, and I'm sorry that wasn't mentioned. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, every EEI must be filed for shipments valued at over $2,500 or requiring an export license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Susan Henry from J.H. Rhodes Company. Your line's open.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I'm just inquiring, when I get notification and it's accepted and then it says /verify, what do I have to do?
Okay, those are simply verification messages, and that means that something in the shipment is not necessarily incorrect, but it hit a flag in our system. Usually the most common ones that we receive are indicating either high or low quantities and values. And they're generated because the automated export system was designed with different parameters for each commodity. Now, if the values that you have entered are either higher or lower, fall outside of those parameters, then AES automatically triggers a message as a quality assurance method. So we verify that you have either not entered an extra digit or omitted a figure. And if you want to find out more information on that, Nidal did cover every response message thoroughly in the ABCs of AES webinar on September 5th. And for verify messages in particular, if you receive more than 5 within a month's time frame for the same Schedule B, then I would advise you to just look over the classification webinar that was provided August 8th. She provides more detail on that.
Okay. Yeah, and I only get this message when I'm shipping something of high value to Germany that doesn't weigh a lot.
Okay, and that's because of the low weight. So it is because of the whole parameter that are already in place.
Okay. All right.
But if your information is correct, then you can ignore the message.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And we have no further questions in queue.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. As previously mentioned, our next webinar is October 3rd and is on getting it right the first time, how to avoid common penalties. And you can register at the link at the top of the slide on Monday, September 24th. Today's archived webinar will be available within 24 hours and can be found on our online press kit at www.census.gov. With that, let me thank you for participating in today's event.
And this concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may disconnect at this time.